The hospital room reeked of antiseptic and endings. Maya Richardson clutched her father's calloused hand as the monitors measured out his final heartbeats in slowing beeps. James Richardson, known to the world as just another invisible janitor, was leaving her. "Daddy, please don't leave me," she sobbed into his chest. His eyes fluttered open one last time, still sharp despite everything shutting down. "In my apartment," he whispered, each word an effort. "Bedroom closet. Old Nike shoebox. False bottom. There's a key." "What?" "Daddy, I don't understand. Promise me." His grip tightened with surprising force. "Not Marcus. Especially not Marcus." Before Maya could ask why, the machines screamed their final protest. Her father was gone. And barely 24 hours later, while grave dirt was still fresh under her fingernails from placing roses on his casket that morning, Maya stood outside a courthouse watching through tears as her husband Marcus signed a marriage license to marry his mistress, Vanessa, the same woman who'd whispered, "finally," when her father's heart monitor flatlined. Maya stood there 6 months pregnant, clutching her father's worn jacket that still smelled like Irish spring soap and coffee and love, watching her entire world collapse. But what she didn't know, what Marcus and Vanessa couldn't possibly know, was that the envelope trembling in Maya's hands held a secret that would leave them screaming in a parking garage, choking on regret for the rest of their lives. Hello, welcome to African Tales by Natasha. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with your friends, and most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? The text came at 6 a.m., cold and clinical. Crashed at Dave's. Coming by at 9. We need to talk. Important. Maya hadn't slept. She'd spent the night on her father's threadbare couch, still wearing the black dress from his funeral, still trying to understand his cryptic dying words about keys and safety deposit boxes, and especially not Marcus. Her husband arrived at 9:15, late on purpose, she realized now. A power play. He looked rested, cologne expensive, like he hadn't just attended his father-in-law's funeral yesterday. "How you feeling?" he asked, not quite meeting her eyes. "How do you think I'm feeling, Marcus?" "I buried my father yesterday." "Right. Yeah." He sat down, and Maya saw it then, the manila folder in his hands. Official. Legal. Final. "Look, there's no easy way to say this." He slid the folder across their kitchen table. "I want a divorce." The words hit her like a physical blow. Even though she'd known, even though she'd seen it coming after finding those Instagram photos of him with Vanessa, hearing them out loud made them real in a way that stole her breath. "What?" "I'm not happy, Maya. I haven't been for a long time." His voice was rehearsed, practiced. "We've grown apart. You've been so focused on your dad's illness, and I need something different. My dad just died yesterday." Her voice didn't sound like her own. "Yesterday, Marcus. And you're asking me for a divorce today. The timing isn't ideal." "Isn't ideal?" She laughed, a broken sound. "I'm 6 months pregnant with your baby. My father, the only family I had left, just died. And the timing isn't ideal. I know it's hard, but prolonging this doesn't help anyone." He was using his sales voice now, the one he used to close deals. "I've already talked to a lawyer. It can be simple. Clean. You keep the apartment. I'll pay child support. We can both move on with our lives." "Move on to what? To who?" Maya pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, and shoved it across the table. The photo showed Marcus and Vanessa at a trendy restaurant, her head on his shoulder, both smiling like they'd won the lottery. Posted 6 weeks ago, while Maya's father was dying. Marcus's face went carefully blank. "Maya, how long?" Her voice rose. "How long have you been sleeping with your boss while I was watching my father die?" "It's not like that." "Then what is it like? Tell me, Marcus. What is it like to cheat on your pregnant wife while her father is dying of cancer?" What is it like to attend his funeral and then go out celebrating with your mistress? Don't make this ugly. His jaw tightened. I didn't plan for this to happen. Vanessa and we connect on a level you and I never did. She's successful, ambitious, going places. She understands the life I want. Every word was a knife. And what am I? Maya's voice broke. You were my wife. Past tense. You're a good person, Maya. You really are. But you were never going to be enough. Not for the life I want to build. The cruelty of it took her breath away. I'm pregnant with your child. I know. And I'll support the baby financially. I'm not a monster. But I can't stay in a marriage that makes me miserable just because of biology. He stood up, buttoned his jacket. Sign the papers. My lawyer will be in touch about the details. I'll come by this weekend to get my stuff. Marcus, please. She hated the begging in her voice. Hated that even now, some part of her wanted him to stay. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and what she saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was pity. You'll be okay, Maya. You're strong. You'll figure it out. And then he left. Just walked out, leaving her sitting there 6 months pregnant, freshly orphaned, with divorce papers on the table and a future that looked like a black hole. Maya sat in the silence, her father's dying words echoing. I see it in his eyes. He looks at you like you're a burden. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi Maya, this is Vanessa. I know this must be hard for you, but Marcus and I are in love. We'd appreciate your discretion and cooperation during this transition. We'd like to move forward with our lives as quickly as possible. Thank you for understanding. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. Something shifted in Maya then. Something cold and clear and sharp. She picked up her keys, grabbed her father's jacket, and drove to First National Bank. It was time to find out what her father had meant about never being powerless. First National Bank was old money, all marble floors and cathedral ceilings that made Maya feel small. She walked up to the information desk, her pregnant belly leading the way, her father's jacket wrapped around her shoulders like armor. I need to access safety deposit box 1247, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman's fingers flew over her keyboard. Then she paused, looked up at Maya with new eyes. One moment, please. I need to get the manager. A man in an expensive suit appeared within minutes. Miss Richardson? I'm Gerald Whitmore, branch manager. Please, follow me. He led her past the regular safety deposit area to a private room Maya didn't know existed. He used 2 keys to open the box, his and the one Maya had found in her father's apartment, exactly where he said it would be. Take all the time you need, he said quietly, then left her alone. Inside was a single large envelope, thick with papers. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. The first thing she saw was a letter in her father's handwriting, that familiar scrawl she'd seen on birthday cards and grocery lists and notes left on the fridge. But beneath it were documents. So many documents. Stock certificates. Property deeds. Bank statements with numbers that didn't make sense. She read the letter first. My dearest Maya. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you're probably confused, maybe scared, definitely grieving. I'm so sorry I'm not there to explain this in person, to hold you while you process it, to see your face when you realize who you really are. But baby girl, it's time you knew the truth. My real name is James Hartwell III. My family, the Hartwells, built Hartwell Industrial Holdings over 3 generations. When I was 23, I was heir to a $3 billion empire. I was supposed to marry some debutante my mother picked out, supposed to take over the company, supposed to live a life that had been planned for me before I was born. Then I met your mother at a charity event. She was a teacher, kind, beautiful, everything pure in this world. My family hated her. Said she wasn't good enough, wasn't our class. They gave me a choice, her or the inheritance. I chose her, baby. Every single time I chose love. And when she died bringing you into this world, I chose you. I walked away from the Hartwell name, changed it to Richardson, got a job mopping floors, and raised you the way your mother and I had dreamed, with character, integrity, and love instead of money. But I never gave up the inheritance, Maya. I just hid it. Managed it quietly through lawyers and shell corporations. Let it grow. Protected it. For you. Maya stopped reading, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it. She looked at the documents spread before her. Controlling shares in 17 major corporations. Commercial real estate in 12 states. A stock portfolio worth $1.8 billion. An art collection valued at $400 million. Liquid assets totaling $600 million. The total estate value, according to the most recent assessment, $5.2 billion. $5.2 billion. Maya read that number 5 times before it started to feel like actual words instead of random symbols. Her father, her daddy, who'd eaten ramen for dinner so she could have dance lessons, who'd driven a car held together with duct tape, who'd worked Christmas shifts so she could have presents, had been worth $5 billion. She kept reading. 3 weeks ago, I restructured everything. The day after Marcus visited me in the hospital. Maya's breath caught. Marcus had visited her father? He'd told her he couldn't get away from work. He spent 15 minutes complaining about hospital bills, about how your pregnancy was bad timing, about how he was under pressure at work. He asked if I had life insurance, to offset the burden. Baby girl, I saw it in his eyes then. I saw what he was planning. So I called my lawyer that same day and made absolutely certain that when Marcus leaves you, and he will leave you, he can never touch a penny of this. Everything is in an irrevocable trust. Even if you were still married when you inherited, it would be 100% separate property. Community property laws don't apply. Prenuptial agreements don't matter. This is yours, and only yours. Maya's tears were falling on the paper now, smudging her father's careful handwriting. I know what Marcus is going to do. He's going to leave you. He's going to hurt you in ways that will make you question everything. But I need you to understand something. Him leaving is the greatest gift he could give you. Because now you'll know. You'll know that when he chose to go, he had no idea what he was walking away from. He left you because he thought you were poor. Because he thought you were weak. Because he thought he could do better. And Maya, my darling daughter, I need you to let him go. Let him marry his mistress. Let him build his little life. And when you're ready, when you've healed, you show him and her and the whole world exactly who Maya Richardson Hartwell really is. Not with cruelty. Not with revenge. But by building a life so beautiful, so meaningful, so powerful that they spend the rest of their days choking on regret. That's the Hartwell way. We don't destroy our enemies. We simply become so magnificent they destroy themselves. You are never alone. You are never poor. You are never powerless. I made sure of that. Trust the plan, baby girl. I love you more than all the billions in the world. Daddy. Maya sat in that quiet room and sobbed. For her father, for herself, for the future he'd mapped out with such precision and love. She cried until she had no tears left, until her baby kicked hard as if to say, "Mom, we're going to be okay." Then she pulled out her phone and called the number on the business card attached to the documents. Hartwell and Associates. A man answered immediately. This is Maya Richardson. Miss Richardson, we've been expecting your call. I'm Harold Ashford, your father's attorney. And your cousin, actually. Your father was my Uncle James. Maya's head was spinning. She had family. Real family. I'd very much like to meet with you to explain everything and begin the transition of assets. Would tomorrow work? Tomorrow. Maya's voice was hollow. My husband just asked me for a divorce this morning. I know. Harold's voice was gentle but knowing. Your Uncle James predicted that would happen. He had me prepare something special for that exact scenario. Maya, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your uncle was the best man I ever knew. But I promise you, he's still protecting you. Everything is in place. Everything is going to be okay. Maya took the train to New York the next morning. Harold had offered to send a private jet, but she'd declined. She needed one more day of being regular Maya before everything changed forever. The law offices of Hartwell and Associates occupied the entire 47th floor of Sterling Tower in Manhattan. When Maya stepped out of the elevator, everything was glass and chrome and the kind of quiet that serious money buys. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly when Maya gave her name. Miss Hartwell. Please, right this way. Richardson, Maya corrected automatically, but the woman was already leading her down a hallway lined with portraits, stern-looking men in expensive suits. Hartwells. Her ancestors. At the end of the hall hung a portrait that made Maya's breath catch. A young man with kind eyes and a smile that wanted to break free. Her father, maybe 25, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than the car he'd driven when Maya was growing up. That was taken right before he left, a voice said behind her. Maya turned to find a distinguished man in his 60s, his face breaking into a warm smile that reminded her achingly of her father. Maya, I'm Harold Ashford. But please, call me Harry. Your father was my uncle, which makes us family. He pulled her into a hug that felt genuine, safe. God, you look just like him. He led her into a conference room where two other people waited, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s and a younger man with a laptop. This is Patricia Whitmore, your financial advisor, and David Chen, your accountant. They've been managing your father's holdings for the past 15 years. As of today, they work for you. Over the next 3 hours, they walked Maya through everything. She owned controlling shares in 17 major corporations, including 3 Fortune 500 companies. She had commercial real estate in 12 states, office buildings, apartment complexes, shopping centers. Her stock portfolio alone was worth $1.8 billion. Then there was the art collection, $400 million, rare books and manuscripts, $75 million, and liquid assets totaling $600 million across various accounts. Your father was brilliant, Patricia said. He lived modestly but invested aggressively. He turned $3 billion into 5.2 over 35 years. And 3 weeks ago, Harold continued, the day after Marcus visited him in the hospital, he restructured everything to ensure maximum protection for you. Marcus visited him? Maya's voice was hollow. He told me he couldn't get away from work. Harold's expression darkened. He spent 15 minutes complaining about hospital bills and asking about life insurance. Your father saw right through him. The next day, he called me and made absolutely certain Marcus could never touch a penny of this. David pulled up documents on his laptop. Everything is in an irrevocable trust with you as the sole beneficiary. Even if you were still married when you inherited, which you're not, it would be completely separate property under state law. No divorce settlement, no community property claims. It's bulletproof. Maya felt dizzy. Why didn't he tell me? All those years. Because he wanted you to grow up normal, Harold said gently. To marry someone who loved you for you, not your bank account. To know your own strength. He paused. And because he knew that someday, someone would show their true colors. He wanted you to see it clearly before you had the power to do something about it. Marcus left because he thought I had nothing. Exactly. Harold slid one more envelope across the table. Your father wrote you a letter for after you signed the divorce papers. He wanted you to read it once Marcus was truly gone. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. My darling girl. If you're reading this, you've let him go. You've signed the papers. You've chosen dignity over desperation. I'm so proud of you. Now listen carefully. Marcus didn't leave because you weren't enough. He left because he wasn't enough. He left because when things got hard, when you needed him most, his character failed the test. You have a choice now. You could destroy him with what you know. One phone call to his employer about his affair with his boss. One social media post revealing what he walked away from. You could ruin them both. Don't. Not because they don't deserve it. They do. But because you deserve better than to carry that darkness. Instead, rise. Build something beautiful. Help people. Live so magnificently that their regret becomes its own punishment. Remember, the best revenge is not destruction. It's becoming so magnificent that their loss destroys them all on its own. I believe in you, baby girl. Now go show the world who Maya Richardson Hartwell really is. Maya wiped her eyes. I want to help women. Women in crisis. Single mothers. Women who feel powerless and alone like I did. She looked at Harold. I want to start a foundation. Immediately. Patricia smiled. Your father already set one up. The Richardson Hartwell Foundation. $500 million endowment. It's been waiting for you to activate it. Of course he did. Maya laughed through her tears. Okay. Then I want to host a dinner. Potential board members, philanthropists, business leaders, people who can help make this foundation matter. When? 3 weeks. I want it done right. Maya pulled up her phone, found Vanessa's LinkedIn profile. She's a senior marketing director. Successful, well-connected. Exactly the kind of person a new foundation would want to meet, wouldn't she? Harold's smile turned knowing. Along with her new husband, of course. Of course. Maya looked at her father's portrait on the wall, at his kind eyes and restrained smile, and she felt him there with her, guiding her hand. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate a Hartwell. The invitation was a work of art. Thick cream cardstock with elegant raised lettering in deep emerald green. The Richardson Hartwell Foundation cordially invites you to an intimate dinner reception Friday, October 15th, 7 p.m. The Metropolitan Club attire. Black tie. 50 carefully selected invitations went out to business leaders, philanthropists, and influential figures in New York society. And 2 went to a senior marketing director at Preston & Associates and her newly married husband. Vanessa held the invitation up to Marcus, her eyes bright with ambition. This could be huge for my career. A new foundation with serious money behind it? If I could get on their board. Marcus barely glanced at it. Richardson Hartwell. Never heard of them. That's because they're clearly old money. The quiet kind. Vanessa was already Googling. The Hartwell family? Marcus, they're worth billions. Hartwell Industrial Holdings. If this foundation has Hartwell money behind it. She trailed off, dollar signs practically visible in her eyes. So go. We're going. This says, and guest. This is exactly the kind of networking event that'll put us on the map. She was already planning her outfit. I'll wear the red Valentino. You wear your navy Tom Ford. Marcus shrugged. Maya was the furthest thing from his mind. He'd moved on. Vanessa was everything he'd wanted. Successful, ambitious, connected. In 3 weeks, they'd made it official at City Hall. No fuss, no ceremony, just paperwork and a celebratory dinner. He hadn't thought about Maya in days. Hadn't wondered how his pregnant ex-wife was managing alone. Hadn't considered what she was going through emotionally or financially. He'd sent the first child support payment, which made him feel like he'd done his part. Clean conscience. Fresh start. Vanessa RSVP'd yes within the hour. Maya spent those 3 weeks transforming. Not physically, she was 7 months pregnant now, her belly round and prominent, but internally. She met with Patricia and David daily, learning the intricacies of her holdings. She studied the foundation her father had created, understanding his vision. She also met with a stylist, a media consultant, and a speech coach. Not because she needed to change who she was, but because she needed to step into who she'd always been without knowing it. Your father had such presence, Harold told her one afternoon in his office. Not because he flaunted wealth, but because he carried himself like someone who knew his own worth. That's what you need to channel. I don't feel powerful, Maya admitted. I feel scared and sad and angry. Good. Use it. Your father always said that real power comes from standing in your truth, not hiding from it. You're a pregnant woman whose husband abandoned her while her father was dying. That's your truth. Own it. Then show them what you built from those ashes. For the foundation dinner, Maya chose an emerald green maternity gown that made her feel regal. Diamond earrings that had belonged to her Hartwell grandmother sparkled at her ears, jewelry she'd inherited along with everything else. Her hair was swept up, elegant but not overdone. Looking in the mirror, she saw someone new. Someone who looked like she belonged in ballrooms and boardrooms. Someone who'd stopped apologizing for taking up space. He'd be so proud of you, Harold said when he saw her. I hope so, Maya whispered. The Metropolitan Club was everything old money embodied. Soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, walls lined with portraits of robber barons and industrial titans. The kind of place where power whispered instead of shouted. Maya arrived at 6:30, a full 30 minutes early. She needed to feel the space, to claim it as her own before the guests arrived. Patricia was already there, coordinating with staff. Everything's set. Your speech is at 7:45, after the second course. I've seated Marcus and Vanessa at table 7, not too close to the front, but visible. They'll be able to see you clearly. Perfect. By 7:15, guests were arriving. Maya stood near the entrance with Harold, greeting each person personally. CEOs, philanthropists, non-profit directors, everyone who was anyone in New York's charitable circles. At 7:20, Marcus and Vanessa walked in. Maya saw them before they saw her. Marcus looked uncomfortable in his rented tuxedo, clearly out of his depth among genuine wealth. Vanessa was confident in her red designer dress, scanning the room for important people to impress. They checked in with the host, received their table assignment, and began making their way through the crowd. And then Vanessa saw Maya. She stopped so abruptly that Marcus nearly ran into her. Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession: confusion, recognition, shock. Marcus, she hissed, grabbing his arm. That's your ex-wife. Marcus looked up, saw Maya in her emerald gown with a pregnant belly and diamond earrings, standing next to one of the most prominent attorneys in New York like she belonged there. What the hell? Maya watched the realization dawn on their faces. Watched them frantically whisper to each other. Watched Vanessa's confident smile crack at the edges. But Maya didn't approach them. Didn't acknowledge them. She simply turned back to the guest she was speaking with, a prominent businessman interested in corporate partnerships, and continued her conversation. That's the founder, she heard Vanessa whisper frantically. Richardson Hartwell? Maya's last name is Richardson. Is she? They found their table, tucked away but with a clear view of the head table where Maya would be seated. She could feel their eyes on her all through cocktail hour, could practically hear their wheels turning as they tried to make sense of what they were seeing. At 7:45, after the second course, Harold stood and tapped his glass for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to introduce the woman whose vision made this foundation possible, the daughter of my late uncle, a man who understood that true wealth is measured in lives touched and integrity maintained. Please welcome our founder and director, Miss Maya Richardson Hartwell. Maya stood. Every eye in the room turned to her, including Marcus's, including Vanessa's. And she began to speak. Maya's voice carried through the Metropolitan Club with steady confidence, filling the hushed space with a story that would shatter two people's carefully constructed world. Thank you all for coming tonight, she began, her hand resting gently on her pregnant belly. 3 months ago, I lost my father. His name was James Richardson. To the world, he was a janitor at Riverside Elementary School. He worked there for 35 years. He mopped floors, cleaned bathrooms, worked double shifts during holidays so he could afford to give his daughter a good life. Maya paused, her eyes scanning the room. She found Marcus and Vanessa at table 7, both frozen in their seats. What I didn't know, what I only learned after his death, was that my father wasn't just a janitor. His real name was James Hartwell III, heir to the Hartwell Industrial Holdings fortune. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Several heads turned toward Marcus and Vanessa's table. 35 years ago, my father fell in love with a teacher named Caroline. His family disapproved. They said she wasn't good enough, wasn't their class. They gave him an ultimatum: her or his inheritance. Maya's voice grew stronger. He chose love. He walked away from $3 billion to marry the woman he loved. He changed his name, got a job mopping floors, and raised me in a small apartment where we ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch because that's what we could afford. At table 7, Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth. Marcus had gone completely pale. When my father died 3 months ago, I was 6 months pregnant and grieving the only family I'd ever known. I spent 16 hours holding his hand in that hospital room, watching him slip away. And the entire time, my husband, her eyes found Marcus directly now, was texting me about a sales presentation he needed to prepare for. He couldn't be bothered to sit with me while my father died. The room was dead silent now. You could hear the crystal chandeliers chime softly above them. 24 hours after I buried my father, 24 hours, that same husband asked me for a divorce. He told me I would never be enough. That he'd found someone better. Someone successful, ambitious, going places. Vanessa had started shaking. He divorced me, Maya continued, her voice never wavering, because he thought I had nothing. Because he thought I was a burden. Because he thought his mistress, his new wife, was a better investment. Maya smiled then, and it was her father's smile. Kind but knowing. Powerful without cruelty. What he didn't know is that my father, the humble janitor, had never given up his inheritance. He'd just hidden it. Managed it quietly. Protected it. And when he died, he left me everything. His entire estate, currently valued at approximately $5.2 billion. The gasp that went through the room was audible. At table 7, Vanessa's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on her plate. But more than the money, Maya's voice grew softer, more intimate. My father left me a mission. A purpose. This foundation exists to help women who feel exactly like I felt 3 months ago. Powerless, abandoned, underestimated. Women who've been told they're not enough. Women who've lost everything and can't see a way forward. She gestured to the room around them. Because sometimes, the people who leave you do you the greatest favor of your life. They show you who they really are. And they make room for you to become who you were always meant to be. Maya raised her glass. To the Richardson Hartwell Foundation. To understanding your worth. To new beginnings built on truth instead of illusions. And to my father, who taught me that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building a life so beautiful that regret becomes its own punishment. The room erupted in applause. People stood. Business cards were already being pressed into Patricia's hands. And at table 7, Marcus and Vanessa sat frozen, watching the woman they'd pitied become the center of a world they'd never touch. The dinner continued around them, but Marcus and Vanessa might as well have been on another planet. Conversations swirled, champagne flowed. People congratulated Maya on her vision and her father's wisdom. We need to leave, Vanessa whispered urgently, her face chalk white. Now. We can't just. Now, Marcus. They stood awkwardly, gathered their things, and tried to make their way toward the exit as inconspicuously as possible. But in a room full of society's elite who just learned about the biggest gossip story of the year, there was no such thing as inconspicuous. Maya watched them go from the corner of her eye but didn't acknowledge them. She was too busy accepting promises of support, answering questions about the Foundation's mission, and feeling her baby kick strong and healthy against her ribs. That was brilliant, Harold murmured beside her. Your father would be so incredibly proud. I know, Maya said quietly. I can feel it. Marcus and Vanessa made it to the parking garage before Vanessa's composure completely shattered. She leaned against their car, hyperventilating, her red Valentino dress suddenly feeling like a costume for a play she'd lost the script to. "Oh my God," she gasped. "Oh my God, Marcus. I didn't know. You didn't know?" Her voice echoed off the concrete walls, raw and full of horror. "You didn't know your wife was a billionaire? You didn't think to maybe, I don't know, find out who her father really was before you divorced her?" Her father was a janitor. How was I supposed to know he was secretly some billionaire? 5 billion, Marcus. Vanessa was screaming now, completely hysterical. Not a millionaire. Not even 100 millionaire. $5 billion. And you left her. You left her while she was pregnant. You married me 24 hours after her father died. She sank to the ground, her designer dress pooling around her. I'm the other woman in a story where the wife is one of the richest people in the state. My reputation, my career, everything is destroyed. Your career? What about? What about you? Vanessa looked up at him with wild eyes. You're the man who was too stupid to do basic research about your own wife's family. You're the man who divorced a billionaire to marry me. You're going to be a joke, Marcus. A cautionary tale. Don't be like Marcus Hart, who left $5 billion for a marketing director with a corporate credit card. This isn't my fault. Isn't your fault? Vanessa stood up, pulling off her wedding ring. They'd been married 3 weeks. You told me she had nothing. You said we were trading up. You said you were escaping poverty for something better. She was poor. Her dad was a janitor who lived in a shitty apartment. Because he chose to. Vanessa threw her ring at him. It bounced off his chest and skittered across the concrete. He chose to live modestly to teach his daughter values. And you were too shallow, too stupid, too focused on appearances to see what was right in front of you. Where are you going? Away from you. Vanessa's voice broke. I can't be married to a man stupid enough to divorce a billionaire. This is over. I need to do damage control. I need to figure out how to save my career from the nuclear bomb you just dropped on both our lives. Vanessa, wait. But she was already walking away, her heels echoing in the empty garage, leaving Marcus alone with the crushing weight of the biggest mistake of his life. Upstairs, Maya stood by the window overlooking the city, her hand on her belly, feeling her daughter move. Harold approached with a knowing smile. They left rather quickly. Word is. Vanessa was screaming in the parking garage. Maya felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph. Just a calm certainty that her father had been right about everything. My father once told me the best revenge is building a life so beautiful your enemies destroy themselves watching it. He was a wise man. Yes, Maya whispered, looking at her reflection in the window. A woman transformed, not by money but by finally understanding her own worth. He was. The next morning, Maya woke in her father's old apartment. She hadn't been able to bring herself to move yet. To 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and her phone's inbox exploding with notifications. The story had gone viral overnight. Pregnant woman discovers she's billionaire after husband leaves her for his boss. Manhattan's newest philanthropist reveals shocking betrayal. The janitor who was secretly worth $5 billion. Her speech at the foundation dinner had been recorded by multiple attendees and shared across social media. By morning, it had been viewed over 10 million times. And the comments were something else entirely. I'm crying. That poor woman. And her father protecting her even from the grave. The ex-husband is going to regret this for the rest of his life. Can we talk about how he left her 24 hours after her father's funeral? 24 hours. That speech was pure class. She could have destroyed them but chose grace instead. The mistress threw her ring at him in the parking garage. I'm screaming. Maya scrolled through her phone, feeling oddly detached from it all. This was her life they were dissecting, her pain they were commenting on. But in a strange way, the validation helped. Millions of strangers saw exactly what she'd seen. The betrayal, the cruelty, the staggering short-sightedness of what Marcus had done. Her phone rang. "Harold, have you seen the news?" "All of it." The Foundation's website crashed from traffic. "We've had over 5,000 donation inquiries. Major corporations are calling about partnerships. Maya, what you did last night. It mattered. People are paying attention." Maya felt her baby kick, as if in agreement. "Good. That's what Dad wanted. For it to matter. There's something else." Harold's tone shifted. Marcus's employer called. "They're conducting an internal investigation into his relationship with Vanessa. Dating a subordinate apparently violates their ethics policy. And Vanessa's corporate card records show dozens of charges during work hours at restaurants, hotels, while Marcus was still married to you." Maya closed her eyes. "Harold, I don't want to destroy them. You're not. They destroyed themselves. You just illuminated it." He paused. "Your father would say this is natural consequences, not revenge." "What about the divorce?" "Finalized yesterday, actually. You're officially single. And Maya? There's no child support arrangement on file." "What?" "Marcus never filed the paperwork. Which means technically, he's not paying a cent toward his daughter's support, despite promising he would. That's not going to play well in the media." Maya felt a flash of anger. Even now, even after everything, Marcus couldn't be bothered to follow through on the one decent thing he'd promised to do. "I don't need his money." "No, but your daughter deserves a father who keeps his promises. Let me handle this through proper legal channels. He should contribute to his child's welfare, even if it's symbolic compared to what you have." Maya agreed and ended the call. Then she did something her father had always encouraged. She went for a walk. Riverside Elementary School was exactly as she remembered it. The playground where her father had pushed her on the swings during his lunch breaks. The main entrance where he'd met her after school every single day, still wearing his janitor's uniform, never once ashamed. Maya walked the hallways slowly, her hand on her belly, and found herself in front of the janitor's closet where her father had kept his supplies. "Maya." She turned to find Mrs. Chen, the front desk secretary who'd worked with her father for 20 years. The older woman's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, honey. I saw the news. Your poor father." She pulled Maya into a hug. "He never told anyone. Not a single soul. He just came to work every day with that smile of his. Did he ever seem unhappy? Like he regretted his choice?" "Regret?" Mrs. Chen pulled back, looking shocked. "That man talked about you every single day. My Maya got an A on her test. My Maya learned to drive today. My Maya's going to change the world. You were his whole world, sweetie. The money. He never cared about that. He cared about being your daddy." Maya broke down then, sobbing in the hallway of the school where her father had mopped floors and cleaned bathrooms and never once complained about the life he'd chosen. "He knew Marcus would leave," Maya managed through tears. "He saw it coming and protected me anyway. Because that's what good parents do. They see the storms coming and they build you an umbrella." Mrs. Chen squeezed her hand. "Your father built you the biggest umbrella in the world, honey. Now you go use it to help other people." That afternoon, Maya met with Patricia and David at the Foundation offices. Real offices now, on the 23rd floor of a building in Midtown. Harold had secured the space within days. "We need to talk about how to move forward," Patricia said gently. "The attention is overwhelming, but it's also an opportunity. You have the world's attention right now. What do you want to say with it?" Maya thought about her father's letter. About building something so beautiful that regret became its own punishment. "I want to launch our first initiative immediately. Emergency grants for pregnant women and new mothers in crisis. No application process, no red tape. If they need help, we help. Period. That's going to cost. I have $5 billion. I think I can afford to help some mothers." Maya's voice was firm. This is what Dad wanted. Not press releases and photo ops. Real help for real people. David nodded, already typing. We can set up a hotline by next week. Partner with hospitals, shelters, social services. Get the word out. And I want to be hands-on. Not just a name on the letterhead. I want to meet these women, hear their stories, understand what they need. Patricia smiled. Your father would be so proud. I hope so, Maya whispered. I really hope so. That night, Maya finally allowed herself to go through her father's apartment properly. Not to pack it up, but to understand it. To see with new eyes what he'd chosen to keep and what he'd chosen to let go. In his bedroom closet, she found his old Hartwell family photo albums, the ones he'd never shown her. Pictures of a young James in expensive suits at charity galas. James on a yacht. James shaking hands with senators and celebrities. And then the photos changed. James in a courthouse, holding hands with a beautiful woman in a simple white dress. James in scrubs, holding a tiny baby, his face radiating pure joy even as it was streaked with tears. Maya, just born, her mother just gone. James in their tiny apartment, changing diapers. James at the park, pushing a toddler on a swing. James at school plays, at dance recitals, at parent-teacher conferences. Always there, always present, always choosing love. Maya sat on his bed, surrounded by the evidence of a life well lived. Not a perfect life. Not an easy life. But a life built on choices that mattered. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Maya, it's Marcus. I saw the news. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Can we talk? I made a mistake. Maya stared at that message for a long time. Her father's words echoed in her mind. You'll know that when he chose to go, he had no idea what he was walking away from. She typed back. You made a choice, Marcus. Live with it. Then she blocked his number. Because Maya Richardson Hartwell had more important things to do than watch a man drown in his own regret. She had a foundation to build. A baby to prepare for. A legacy to honor. And for the first time since her father died, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. 2 weeks after the foundation dinner, Maya stood in the newly renovated office space on the 23rd floor of the Sterling Building, looking out over Manhattan. The Richardson Hartwell Foundation was now fully operational, and the response had been overwhelming. We've received over 12,000 applications for emergency grants in just 10 days, Patricia reported during their morning meeting. And donations keep pouring in. We're up to $800 million in the endowment fund. $800 million? Maya turned from the window, shocked. Dad left $500. $300 million came from external donors. Corporations, wealthy individuals, even small donations from regular people who saw your speech and wanted to help. Patricia smiled. You struck a nerve, Maya. Your story resonated. Harold pulled up a news article on his tablet. The media coverage hasn't slowed down. They're calling it the Hartwell effect. Women finding their voice, leaving toxic relationships, standing up for themselves. Maya felt her eyes sting. This was what her father had wanted. Not revenge, not spectacle, but real change. Real impact. What about Marcus and Vanessa? She asked quietly. Harold's expression grew grim. Marcus was fired 3 days ago. Preston and Associates concluded that his relationship with Vanessa violated their ethics policy. They also discovered he'd been using company resources for personal matters. And Vanessa resigned before they could terminate her. She's facing professional misconduct charges from the State Ethics Board. The corporate card fraud alone is substantial. Maya felt a complicated mix of emotions. She'd never wanted to destroy them, but she also couldn't muster much sympathy. They'd made their choices. There's something else, David said carefully. Marcus has been trying to contact you through multiple channels. Phone, email, showing up at your father's apartment building. He's Persistent. Block everything. If he continues, we file for a restraining order. Already drafted, Harold confirmed. And Maya? He still hasn't filed for child support. His lawyer reached out yesterday asking if we'd consider a private arrangement instead of going through the courts. Absolutely not. My daughter deserves official child support from her father, even if I don't need the money. It's about him being accountable. Agreed. I'll inform his attorney that we're proceeding with legal action. That afternoon, Maya visited the first recipient of a Richardson Hartwell Foundation emergency grant. Carmen Rodriguez, a 23-year-old single mother of twins, had been evicted from her apartment after losing her job at a nursing home. She'd been living in a shelter with her 6-month-old babies, trying to find work while paying for childcare. The foundation had granted her $10,000, first and last month's rent for a new apartment, a security deposit, 3 months of childcare, and a stipend for necessities. Maya met her at the new apartment, a modest 2-bedroom in Queens. Carmen opened the door with a baby on each hip, tears streaming down her face. "Miss Hartwell, I can't. I don't know how to." She was sobbing too hard to finish. "Carmen." Maya gently took one of the babies, a little girl with bright eyes. "You don't have to thank me. You just have to promise me something. Anything. When you're back on your feet, when things are stable, you help someone else. That's how this works. That's what my father taught me." Carmen nodded frantically. "I promise. I swear I promise." Maya spent an hour with her, holding babies, helping her unpack, listening to her story. Carmen had been abandoned by her boyfriend when she got pregnant. Her family had disowned her for keeping the babies. She'd been completely alone, exactly like Maya had been 3 months ago. "How did you get through it?" Carmen asked. "I saw your speech online. How did you survive feeling that alone?" Maya looked at the baby girl in her arms, then down at her own 7-month pregnant belly. "I remembered that I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for her." She gestured to Carmen's babies. "For them. And that made me stronger than I knew I could be." Over the next month, Maya visited 27 grant recipients. Single mothers, pregnant teenagers, women escaping domestic violence, elderly women who'd lost their spouses and couldn't afford rent. Each story was different, but the thread connecting them was the same. They'd been underestimated, abandoned, told they weren't enough. And now they had hope. The media followed Maya's work closely. Every visit, every grant, every woman helped became a story. Some criticized her. Why not help men too? This is sexist. But the overwhelming response was positive. By her 8th month of pregnancy, Maya had become something she'd never intended, a symbol. Women reached out from all over the country, sharing their own stories of betrayal and survival. The foundation expanded, opening satellite offices in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Houston. Harold managed the legal side while Patricia handled finances and David ensured every dollar was accounted for. But Maya was the heart of it all. Visiting recipients, speaking at events, sharing her father's wisdom. At a conference in Chicago, a reporter asked her the question everyone wanted answered. "Do you regret not telling Marcus who you were before he divorced you?" Maya thought carefully before responding. "No. Because if I had, I'd never know if he stayed for me or for the money. And my daughter deserves a father who loves her for who she is, not what she has." "Have you heard from him?" "He's tried to contact me. I haven't responded. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed." The video went viral. Again. 2 days before her due date, Maya sat in her new penthouse apartment. Harold had finally convinced her to leave her father's building, surrounded by baby furniture and gifts from well-wishers worldwide. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Maya, please don't hang up. Marcus." Somehow he'd gotten a new number. "How did you? I need to talk to you. Please. Just 10 minutes." Maya should have hung up. Should have blocked this number too. But something in his voice, desperation, maybe regret, made her pause. 5 minutes. Say what you need to say. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I was an idiot, Maya. I was shallow and cruel, and I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. You threw away your wife and child. I know. And I can't sleep. I can't eat. I watch videos of you helping people and I think, that could have been us. We could have done that together. But we didn't, Marcus. Because when things got hard, when I needed you most, you walked away. You chose easy over loyal. New over faithful. I'm so sorry. I'm sure you are. But you're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you lost $5 billion. There's a difference. That's not. Yes, it is. Maya's voice was firm but not angry. If I'd been a billionaire when we met, you would have stayed. But you fell in love with Vanessa when you thought I was poor. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. I want to be there for the baby. For our daughter. You'll have visitation rights once paternity is established and child support is arranged. Through the courts. With supervision until she's old enough to decide for herself. But you and me. That's done, Marcus. It was done the moment you walked out. Maya, please. I hope you find happiness. I genuinely do. But you'll find it somewhere else, with someone else. Goodbye, Marcus. She hung up and blocked the number. Then she sat in the nursery she designed for her daughter, soft yellows and greens, filled with books and music and love, and cried. Not for what she'd lost, but for what she'd never really had. Maya's water broke at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. She was in her penthouse, reading through grant applications. She'd been unable to sleep, restless with anticipation, when she felt the first contraction. She called Harold first, then her car service, then the hospital. By 4:30 a.m., she was checked into Mount Sinai's private maternity wing, the same hospital where her father had died 4 months earlier. The irony wasn't lost on her. Labor was long. 14 hours of contractions, breathing exercises, and moments where Maya thought she couldn't do it, couldn't push through the pain. But every time she wanted to give up, she thought about her father. About Carmen and the other women she'd helped. About all the women throughout history who'd done this alone, without support, without resources. And she kept going. Harold and Patricia took turns sitting with her, holding her hand, reminding her to breathe. At 6:23 p.m., Naomi James Richardson Hartwell came into the world screaming. Healthy, perfect, and absolutely furious about being evicted from her comfortable womb. The nurse placed her on Maya's chest, and Maya broke down completely. Hi, baby girl, she sobbed. Hi, sweet girl. Your grandpa loved you so much. He made sure you'd be okay. We're going to be okay. Naomi had her grandfather's eyes, that same intelligent, knowing look, like she understood more than she should. Maya counted her fingers, her toes, marveled at her perfect tiny features. She looks just like your father, Patricia whispered from the corner. Maya, she's beautiful. Harold was crying too, not even trying to hide it. James would be over the moon. He'd be calling everyone he knew, passing out cigars, boring people with pictures. Maya laughed through her tears. He'd be a ridiculous grandfather. The best kind. They gave Maya a private recovery suite, one of the benefits of having an endowment-level donation on file with the hospital, courtesy of the foundation. She spent the first night just staring at Naomi, unable to believe this perfect human existed. At 11 p.m., there was a knock on her door. Come in. Mrs. Chen from Riverside Elementary walked in, carrying a huge bouquet of yellow roses, her father's favorite. Oh, honey. Look at you. She approached the bed cautiously. I hope it's okay that I came. I saw the news and I wanted to see her. See you. Of course it's okay. Maya gestured to the rocking chair. Want to hold her? Mrs. Chen's eyes filled with tears. May I? Maya carefully transferred Naomi into the older woman's arms. Mrs. Chen rocked slowly, staring at the baby with wonder. Your daddy held you just like this. The day you were born, after your mama passed, he sat in that hospital room for hours just holding you, telling you about all the things he was going to teach you. He said, Naomi. She paused. Wait, that's her name? Maya nodded. Naomi James. After him. Mrs. Chen sobbed. He said, baby girl, I'm going to teach you to be strong. To be kind. To never measure your worth by someone else's inability to see it. And Maya, he did. He absolutely did. They sat together in comfortable silence, 3 generations connected by love and loss and the determination to keep going. The media learned about Naomi's birth within hours. Someone at the hospital had leaked it despite strict privacy orders. By morning, Maya's phone was flooded with messages of congratulations. But one message stood out. From Marcus. I heard about the baby. Congratulations. I'd like to meet her. Please. Maya stared at that text for a long time. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. Your daughter deserves to know her father, even if he's proven unworthy of being in your life. She typed back, once we're home and settled, we can arrange supervised visitation through my attorney. You'll need to complete the paternity test and child support paperwork first. This isn't negotiable. His response came immediately. Of course. Whatever you need. Thank you, Maya. Thank you for giving me a chance. But Maya wasn't giving him a chance. She was giving Naomi a chance to know her father. There was a difference. 1 week after Naomi's birth, Maya returned home to her penthouse. Harold had arranged for a night nurse, just for the first few weeks, until you find your rhythm. And Patricia had filled the apartment with groceries and necessities. But what made Maya break down was the package waiting on her dining room table. It was wrapped in simple brown paper with a note in her father's handwriting. He must have arranged this before he died, asked Harold to deliver it when Naomi was born. Inside was a leather-bound journal. The first page read, My dearest Maya. If you're reading this, you're holding my granddaughter. I wish more than anything I could be there to meet her, to hold her, to tell her stories about her mama and all the ways you changed my life. But since I can't be there in person, I've written this for her. For both of you. Every page is a letter. One for every year until she turns 18. Lessons I want her to know. Stories about our family. Wisdom I wish I'd learned sooner. Read them together. Let her know her grandpa loves her even though he never got to meet her. And Maya, my darling girl. You're going to be an amazing mother. You already are. Because you know the most important thing. Love isn't measured in bank accounts or job titles or social status. It's measured in showing up. In staying. In choosing someone every single day. That's what your mother and I did for each other. That's what I did for you. And that's what you'll do for Naomi. Trust yourself. Trust the plan. And know that I'm always with you, baby girl. All my love, forever and always, Daddy. Maya sat on the floor of her penthouse, holding her newborn daughter in one arm and her father's journal in the other, and sobbed. Not from grief this time, but from overwhelming gratitude. Her father had thought of everything. Even this. Even a way to be there for his granddaughter from beyond the grave. Your grandpa loved us so much, Naomi, she whispered. And we're going to make him proud. Every single day. The first supervised visit between Marcus and Naomi happened 2 weeks later at Maya's attorney's office. Marcus arrived on time, nervous, carrying a stuffed elephant that was far too large for a newborn. Hi, he said awkwardly. Thank you for letting me. This isn't for you, Maya said firmly. This is for her. She deserves to know her father. The social worker supervised while Marcus held Naomi for the first time. Maya watched his face transform, genuine love and wonder replacing the nervous uncertainty. She's perfect, he whispered. Maya, she's absolutely perfect. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Maya didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Marcus's regret was his burden to carry, not hers to accept or absolve. After an hour, Maya took Naomi back. Same time next week. Can we talk? Just for a minute. About Naomi's schedule or needs? Yes. About us? No. There is no us, Marcus. There's you, and there's me, and there's our daughter who deserves better than parents who pretend to be something they're not. She left him standing there, holding his oversized elephant, drowning in regret. Because Maya Richardson Hartwell had better things to do than watch a man learn lessons he should have known all along. She had a daughter to raise, a foundation to run, a life to build that honored her father's sacrifice and her own strength. And for the first time since her father died, Maya felt complete. Naomi James Richardson Hartwell was 5 years old, precocious, brilliant, and already showing signs of her grandfather's kind heart and sharp mind. She loved books, asked endless questions, and had recently informed Maya that when she grew up, she wanted to be either a doctor or a superhero, but maybe both because why choose? Maya stood outside Riverside Elementary School, watching her daughter skip toward the entrance in her little backpack, chattering excitedly about her first day of kindergarten. The same school where her grandfather had worked as a janitor for 35 years. Maya had chosen this school deliberately, despite Harold's suggestions about private institutions with better resources. Riverside needed resources, and now, thanks to the Richardson Hartwell Foundation's new education initiative, it would get them. "Mommy, is this really where Grandpa worked?" Naomi asked, her eyes wide. "Yes, baby. This is where he worked so that he could give me a good life. And now you're going to learn here, just like I did." "Was he a good janitor?" Maya laughed, tears pricking her eyes. "He was the best janitor in the whole world. But more importantly, he was the best person in the whole world." Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway, now retired but volunteering as a classroom aide. Her face lit up when she saw them. "Naomi, look at you, all grown up and ready for school." Naomi hugged Mrs. Chen fiercely. She'd been visiting the school and meeting Mrs. Chen since she was a baby. "I'm going to learn to read chapter books." "I know you are, sweetheart. You're going to be amazing." As Naomi ran inside with her new teacher, Maya stood with Mrs. Chen, watching her disappear into the building. "James would be so proud," Mrs. Chen said softly. "Of both of you." "I hope so. I try every day to live up to his example." "You do more than that, honey. You've helped thousands of women. That foundation of yours, it's changing lives." Maya smiled. "We're up to 10,000 grants distributed, 200 million in direct aid. And we're expanding internationally next year." "And Marcus?" Mrs. Chen asked carefully. "How's he doing?" Maya's expression didn't change. "He's consistent with his visitation. He's good with Naomi. He's trying." The truth was more complicated than that simple answer suggested. Over the past 5 years, Marcus had undergone a transformation. Not the instant redemption arc you see in movies, but the slow, painful kind where someone genuinely reckons with who they were and decides to become better. He attended every supervised visit without fail. He paid child support on time, even though the court-mandated amount was laughable compared to Maya's wealth. He took parenting classes. He went to therapy. He built a relationship with his daughter based on presence, not presents. And he never, not once, asked Maya to take him back. "I don't deserve a second chance with you," he told her 2 years ago during a visitation exchange. "I know that. I'm not trying to win you back. I'm just trying to be someone Naomi can be proud of someday." Maya had respected that. It didn't erase what he'd done, didn't undo the betrayal or the pain. But it was something. A foundation for Naomi to build a relationship with her father on her own terms. Vanessa had moved to Seattle, Maya heard through the grapevine. She'd started over, working for a small non-profit, a dramatic step down from her corporate career. She'd never tried to contact Maya or apologize. Maybe that was for the best. That evening, after picking Naomi up from her first day of school, verdict, awesome. Maya attended a gala for the foundation's 5-year anniversary. The event was held at the Metropolitan Club, the same place where Maya had revealed her truth 5 years ago. The room was packed with donors, board members, grant recipients, and supporters. Carmen Rodriguez was there, now employed as a social worker, helping other single mothers, her twins healthy and thriving. Dozens of other women Maya had helped had become advocates, spreading the foundation's mission. Harold clinked his glass for attention. 5 years ago, my cousin Maya stood in this very room and shared a story that resonated around the world. A story of betrayal, loss, and unexpected strength. Maya stood, uncomfortable with being the center of attention but understanding its necessity. Tonight, we celebrate 5 years of the Richardson Hartwell Foundation. 5 years of proving that when you help women help themselves, they change the world. The room erupted in applause. But I want to talk about something my father taught me, Maya continued. He taught me that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts. It's measured in lives touched, in kindness shown, in choosing love over fear every single day. She gestured around the room. This room is full of women who've been underestimated, abandoned, told they weren't enough. And look at you now. Look at what you've built. You're not victims. You're warriors. The applause was deafening. After her speech, a young woman approached, maybe 22, holding a baby. Miss Hartwell? I received a grant 3 years ago. You saved my life. And now I'm in nursing school. I'm going to pay it forward, just like you told me to. Maya hugged her, feeling her father's presence so strongly it took her breath away. This was what he'd wanted. Not revenge. Not spectacle. Just this, ripples of kindness spreading outward, changing lives, building hope. At the end of the evening, as Maya stood alone for a moment, looking out at the city, a familiar voice spoke behind her. Congratulations on everything you've built. She turned. Marcus stood there in a simple suit, nothing expensive, nothing flashy. He looked different than he had 5 years ago. More humble. More real. What are you doing here? Naomi invited me. She made me a card for the foundation's anniversary, said I should give it to you. He pulled out a crayon drawing, stick figures labeled Mommy, Me, and Grandpa in Heaven, standing in front of a building labeled The Happy Place. Maya's eyes filled with tears. She calls the foundation The Happy Place. Because that's what it is. Maya, He stopped, started again. I know I have no right to say this, but I'm proud of you. Not because of the money or the foundation or any of the external stuff. I'm proud because you turned the worst moment of your life into something that helps people. That's who you've always been. I was just too stupid to see it. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, and saw genuine remorse. Not regret about what he'd lost, but genuine remorse for the pain he'd caused. Thank you for saying that. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that watching you be an amazing mother and build this incredible legacy has taught me more about character than anything else in my life. Marcus, we'll never be what we were. You understand that, right? I do. And I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking to be a good father to Naomi. To show her that people can grow and change, even when they've made terrible mistakes. Maya nodded slowly. Then keep doing what you're doing. Keep showing up. Keep being present. That's all she needs. He smiled, sad but genuine. Your dad would be so proud of you. I know, Maya whispered. I feel it every day. After Marcus left, Maya stood alone with Naomi's drawing, thinking about forgiveness. Not the kind that erases the past or pretends pain didn't happen, but the kind that releases you from carrying someone else's mistakes. She forgave Marcus. Not for him. For her. For Naomi. For the life they were building that had no room for bitterness. And in that moment, Maya felt lighter than she had in 5 years. 10 years after her father's death, Maya sat in her office at the Richardson Hartwell Foundation headquarters, now a full building in downtown Manhattan, reviewing the annual report with a sense of quiet satisfaction. 25,000 women helped. $500 million in direct grants distributed. Satellite offices in 12 countries. A 96% success rate. Women who received aid and went on to stable, independent lives. But the numbers, as impressive as they were, weren't what made Maya proud. It was the stories. Like Aisha, who 9:19 p.m. escaped domestic violence with her 3 children and now ran a shelter helping other women escape. Like Jennifer, who'd been pregnant and homeless at 16 and was now a pediatrician specializing in at-risk youth. Like May, who'd immigrated from China with nothing and now owned a successful restaurant that employed other immigrant women. Every grant was a seed. Every woman helped become a gardener, planting more seeds, creating more hope. Naomi was 10 years old now, already showing signs of her grandfather's business acumen and her mother's compassion. She volunteered at the foundation on weekends, reading to grant recipients' children, helping sort donation drives. "Mommy," she'd said recently, "when I grow up, I want to run the foundation. Is that okay?" Maya had pulled her close, fighting tears. "Baby, that's more than okay. That's perfect." Marcus had remarried 3 years ago, not to someone wealthy or ambitious, but to a kindergarten teacher named Lisa who made him laugh and called him out when he was being selfish. They had a son, Naomi's half-brother, and while Maya would never be friends with Marcus, they'd achieved something better: peaceful co-parenting. Marcus showed up. He kept promises. He taught Naomi that making mistakes doesn't define you, how you grow from them does. And Naomi adored him, which was all Maya had ever wanted. Vanessa had reached out once, 5 years ago, sending a handwritten letter. "Maya, I know I have no right to contact you, and I don't expect a response. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not because I lost anything, but because I hurt you during the worst time of your life. I was cruel, selfish, and blind. I measured people by their bank accounts and job titles instead of their character. And I lost everything that mattered trying to gain things that didn't. I've spent the last 5 years in therapy, working with women in crisis, trying to understand why I became the kind of person who could whisper, 'Finally,' when someone's father died. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that watching you build something beautiful from your pain taught me what real strength looks like. I hope you and your daughter are happy. You deserve every good thing. Vanessa." Maya had read that letter 3 times, then filed it away. She didn't respond. But she did forgive. Not through words, but through the act of releasing the weight of other people's failures. On the 10th anniversary of her father's death, Maya took Naomi to Evergreen Cemetery. They brought yellow roses, his favorite, and sat by his headstone, which read simply, "James Hartwell Richardson III beloved father he chose love." "Tell me a story about Grandpa," Naomi said, arranging the roses carefully. Maya pulled out the leather journal her father had left. They'd read through all 18 letters now, but Maya kept it close. "Did I ever tell you about the time he worked a double shift on Christmas Eve so I could have a bike?" "Tell me again." So Maya did. She told Naomi about a man who walked away from billions to push his daughter on swings during lunch breaks. A man who chose ramen for dinner so his daughter could have dance lessons. A man who saw betrayal coming and built a fortress of love to protect her. "I wish I could have met him," Naomi said softly. "You have, baby. Every time you help someone, that's him. Every time you choose kindness over cruelty, that's him. He lives in every good thing we do." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the wind in the trees. "Mommy, do you still think about Daddy Marcus leaving?" Maya considered that carefully. "Sometimes. But not with sadness anymore. Because if he hadn't left, I wouldn't have found out who I really was. I wouldn't have built the foundation. I wouldn't know my own strength. So it's like Grandpa said, sometimes people leaving is actually them doing you a favor?" Exactly like that. The people who are meant to stay will stay. And the people who leave make room for better things. Naomi nodded sagely, then brightened. "Can we go to the foundation? I want to help with the new applications." Maya laughed. Absolutely. As they walked back to the car, Naomi slipped her hand into Maya's. Mommy, I think Grandpa would be really proud of us. I know he would, baby. I know he is. That evening, Maya stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, getting ready for the Foundation's 10th anniversary gala. She looked different than she had a decade ago, not just older, but stronger, more certain, at peace. Her phone buzzed. A text from Harold. Your father would be beside himself with pride tonight. I hope you know that. Maya smiled and typed back. I do. Thank you for everything, Harry. For protecting his legacy and helping me build mine. At the gala, Maya gave her final speech as solo director. She'd be transitioning to board chair, bringing in a new executive director to expand the Foundation's reach. 10 years ago, she began, I stood in this room as a broken woman who'd lost everything. My father, my husband, my sense of self. I thought my life was over. The room was silent, hanging on every word. But my father knew something I didn't, that sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what truly matters. That real wealth isn't in bank accounts, it's in lives touched and kindness multiplied and love that outlasts death. She pulled out her father's letter, the first one he'd written, the one that had started everything. He wrote, build something so beautiful that regret becomes its own punishment. And we have. Together, we've built something that's changed 25,000 lives. But more than that, we've built proof that pain can become purpose. That betrayal can become strength. That one person's decision to choose love over money can ripple out and change the world. Maya looked around the room, at all the women who'd been helped, all the donors who'd contributed, all the lives that had been transformed. This foundation isn't my father's legacy. It's not even mine. It's ours. Every woman who refused to let circumstances define her. Every person who chose to help instead of judge. Every human who believed that we're all worthy of dignity, support, and second chances. The applause was thunderous. After the speeches, as the evening wound down, Maya stepped outside for air. The city lights stretched out before her, millions of lives, millions of stories, millions of moments where someone chose love or fear, kindness or cruelty. She felt her father's presence beside her, as real as the wind on her face. We did it, Daddy, she whispered. We took your sacrifice and we built something beautiful. Something that matters. Something that'll outlast both of us. In the breeze, she could almost hear his response. I know, baby girl. I always knew you would. Maya smiled, tears streaming down her face, and went back inside to celebrate with the family she'd built. Not through blood or marriage, but through the conscious choice to show up, to help, to love. Because in the end, that's what her father had taught her. Real legacy isn't what you leave behind when you die. It's what you build while you're alive. It's the lives you touch. The kindness you multiply. The love you choose. Every single day. That's it. That's Maya's complete journey from abandonment to empowerment to legacy. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that you're never powerless, that sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself, subscribe right now and turn on all notifications for more incredible stories. Drop a comment telling me, what's one thing you're taking away from Maya's story? How will you build something beautiful from your pain? I read every single comment. You are never alone. You are never powerless. You just might not know it yet. Thank you for watching, and remember, the best revenge is living well. Now go out there and live.